In this video, we're going to look more at equivalent quadratic expressions. We want to show that x minus 1 times x minus 1 and x squared minus 2x plus 1 are equivalent expressions by drawing a diagram or applying the distributive property. I'll show you both. So when we are drawing our diagram, we're going to put x minus 1 along one side and x minus 1 along the other side. I apologize because my diagram is a little bit crooked, but you get the idea. Now, when we have negatives in our expressions, what we need to do is put that minus sign in front of the number that it goes with. So I'm going to put it in front of the 1. So this is x minus 1. This one is x minus 1. Now, normally, it doesn't make sense to label the side of a rectangle with a negative number. So we have to kind of realize here that our rectangle is representing the expression, but it's not really going to have a side length of -1. We're just using this model to represent our multiplication. So when we multiply x minus 1 times x minus 1, we get 4 pieces. And so our first piece is going to have an area of x squared. Our second piece is going to be -1 times x, or -1x. Our third piece is also going to be -1x, -1 times x. And our fourth piece is -1 times -1, and so that's going to have an area of +1. I'll put a plus sign in front of it to remind myself that it's positive, but you don't need to, you could just write a 1. So the total area, when we multiply x minus 1 times x minus 1, is x squared minus 1x minus 1x plus 1. Again, you have to realize here that we can't really have a negative area of a rectangle. The model here is just helping us to multiply the sides together. So it can't really be a rectangle, but we can make one of the sides negative, and then that'll just give us a negative area. So when we combine our like terms, we have -1x and -1x. That's going to give us x squared minus 2x plus 1. So we can also do this problem using the distributive property. So if we want to do that, what we would do is multiply one of the set of parentheses by each term in the other set of parentheses. So we have x times x minus 1 minus 1 times x minus 1. So basically what I'm doing is I'm distributing this set of parentheses into the second set of parentheses and multiplying each term by the set of parentheses. Now I can distribute each of these. So that's going to give me x squared minus 1x minus 1x. And then -1 times -1 here, I need to be careful with the signs because that's going to be plus 1. And then when I combine my like terms, I get x squared minus 2x plus 1. You have possibly also learned another method for how to do this, which is called FOIL. And if you remember FOIL, the letters stand for first, outside, inside, and last. And so what this means is that this is kind of an order for you to keep track of making sure that you're getting all 4 pieces of this multiplication. So when I multiply the first 2 terms, I get x squared, x times x. When I multiply the outside terms, I get minus 1x. When I multiply the inside terms, I get minus 1x. And when I multiply the last terms, I get negative 1 times negative 1, which is plus 1. And so this gives me an overall answer, once I combine my like terms here. I'll write it in green, x squared minus 2x plus 1. Now, if you have trouble using FOIL, I would recommend either thinking about it in terms of drawing out the box for the problems or thinking of it in terms of this distributive property. If FOIL works for you, feel free to use it as long as you can get the correct answer. It doesn't really matter to me what method you use.